Right, I figured I'd do YouTube first, let people trickle in, and then we will get after it, people. Classical learner. Let's go boom. Go live. We'll call this public indoctrination. All right. Now we're live on TikTok. All right, let's see what happens. We got a little bit of an experiment happening here. I typically stream at 12 noon Eastern, but I thought, you know what? Today we're going to switch things up. We're going to start streaming at 9:30 a.m. and we are going to see how it goes. Now, I haven't announced this really to anyone, so I don't know if any of my regulars know that, but I think 9:30 a.m. is going to be my new streaming time. It is a beautiful day here in the sunny South. It's a nice one of those days where it's not too hot and there's just a beautiful breeze, and I just absolutely love it. Today we are going to talk about the public indoctrination system and the hacks at the politically appointed hacks at the Department of Education. So many people in the United States of America are fed up with what's happening in the public schools. And it's really come to a head in the last few years with everyone being so upset about the facial covering situation. But what I'm finding, talking with a lot of new homeschool families, is it's really been a blessing because the last 2 or 3 years have revealed to people what the public education system really is, which is a public indoctrination center, where regardless of what your school is doing, if they're actually forcing the children to cover their face or not, the underlying message is that they are not teaching children to question authority. And it doesn't really matter what the issue is, they are not taught to question authority. So even right now, with the big situation happening in the world, with everything going on, with the big fight that everyone's talking about, are the children really getting a full picture? Are they being taught to think? Are they being taught to think critically about what's being presented to them, to question the military-industrial complex, or are they falling right in line with this is what the government's telling me, this is what my teachers are telling me, this is what the celebrities are saying, and because of that, this is the stance I should have. And one of the, if you have a student in public school and you want to do a good experiment, in fact, do this with your friends. It's really a fascinating experiment. It's really a great insight into the way in which people are controlled psychologically. You say to them, okay, let me ask you a question. What is Putin's reason for going into the Ukraine? And just wait. Yeah, what's his reason? Right? And what you'll find is that most people aren't able to answer that question. Yeah, power. That's so they say, right? His reason is power. Well, I mean, maybe, but if I were the leader of a country and I wanted power, I don't know if the best way to obtain that power would be to start a conflict that would have most of the world put sanctions on me and pretty much mark me for assassination, right? I mean, really, what is his reason? Why is he going in to the Ukraine? See, most people can't answer that question, and the reason for that is you're not supposed to be able to answer that question because it's indoctrination, right? The news media will say this guy's bad, or the government will say this guy's bad, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's good. In fact, in most of these scenarios, the reason they're is because they're bad guys, right? All right. I mean, usually in order to do that, you have to take the ticket, right? You have to take the backing of these big financial interests. So it's, you really, they serve the bankers. So people say, oh, there's a good guy and the bad guy. No, well, when you talk about Russia and the Ukraine, right? I mean, you think about the last few years. And it's such an interesting black mirror into human psychology and the way propaganda works. You think about the last few years. America launched an invasion, right? America launched an invasion into Syria. And America attempted to overthrow the government of Syria, right? So you think about that now, like, oh wait, I thought doing that is wrong. I thought you can't just launch an invasion into a sovereign country and try to overthrow their leadership. Come again? Because America launched an invasion into Syria, right? So Bashar al-Assad, who was an important ally of Russia, right? He was under threat of being overthrown, of regime change happening, courtesy of the United States of America, right? So Russia, how did they respond? They come to the defense of their ally. Now, if the news media was honest, right, they could have painted the same narrative that they're painting right now with going on in Russia, and they could have said that's what's, oh my, doesn't America stand for democracy? And you can't just cross the borders of a sovereign country and take them over and overthrow their leadership, right? So, and then the only difference is because America was doing it, they said, oh, well, they're fighting terrorists, right? Right? Well, why weren't they freedom fighters? And in the Ukraine, they're freedom fighters, but they're not terrorists. It's just the picture they're painting. But it's the same exact action. See, people, they're not against the behavior. They're just conditioned. It's either you're for a behavior or you're against the behavior. So Russia comes along and they defended Syria, right? So what people don't understand is that Russia and America were in this proxy war, right? In the United States, we're in this proxy war for the last, 7 years. They've been in this proxy war, fighting with each other. And like, it's war. It's like people, it's a very serious thing. Which is why, people are like, oh, why the narrative the last few years of this guy, everyone's a secret Russian agent, right? Right? Well, it's because they're dehumanizing that population. Getting the public ready. They're conditioning for this, right? So now, when you're Russia, and then you've been the target of the United States of America, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're innocent, I'm just saying there's no good guy, right? When you've been the target, and now the Ukraine comes along, and they start talking about joining NATO, right? Well, they start talking about joining NATO, right? And with NATO comes the backing of the full military force of the United States of America, of France, of England, of all these countries, and the Ukraine's looking to do that, then you say, okay, well, now this is a direct threat to me, right? So the reason that Russia attacks the Ukraine is because they feel like they are being threatened in a similar way that the United States felt like they were being threatened, or we were being threatened during the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? When Russia came in and they said, we're going to put missiles in Cuba 90 miles off the shore of Florida, right? And then, oh, well, now we do a blockade. We say, America comes along and said, if you try to do that, this will turn into a hot war, right? It's the same thing. So, people say, oh, the war's happening because he's a bad guy. So anyway, this was neither here nor there. It's not even what I wanted to talk about. But I find it very interesting, the psychological component of people, in that they'll say, oh, because he's a bad guy, right? Most people they don't even know why what drives him to attack the Ukraine, right? And yes, that is true that they've been attacking the Ukraine for some time, as far as I know, though it's very hard to get accurate information since the news is so propagandist. But the point is that, well, what I was originally coming from is that most people, yeah, I've read, I'm familiar with his work, but most people aren't even aware that there are two sides to arguments, and that really is the direct result of public schooling. You have no idea what you're talking about. Fill us in, Senator Anderson. So most people are only aware of one side of an argument, right? So, and the reason for that is they come through the public school system where when children are taught, they're tasked with memorization, right? They're not tasked with, right, a lot of people don't want the truth, right? So they're tasked with memorization. They are not tasked with critical thinking. And it starts with the way that people study history, right? I mean, you think about, right, so I mean, there are a lot of power factions involved here. But when children study history, they should be reading that both sides, right? So when they study the Civil War, they should be reading the primary writings of Abraham Lincoln, and they should be reading the primary writings of Stonewall Jackson, right? When they study Christopher Columbus, they should be reading the primary writings of Columbus and the primary writings of the indigenous people, or the people that were sympathetic to the cause of the indigenous people. And by doing that, you can formulate your own unique understanding of what happened within historical events. And then through doing that enough, you start to realize, wait a second, there are two sides to every story. So when a global event breaks out and the media comes out and they say that here's what's happening, there's these really bad people and they're doing really bad things and we're the really good guys, and the people that they're fighting against are also the really good guys, right? You could say, wait a second, well, what is the argument that the other side is making? It's the same thing with what's happened in America over the last 2 years. Not America, what's happened in the world over the last 2 years. You had a narrative rolled out that there was this horrible thing happening, right? And it was a threat to everyone. And there was this one narrative, and that was the authoritative narrative. And anyone who went along with that narrative, they were so virtuous, and the nurses are heroes, right? And anyone who questioned that narrative, well, they were anti-you-know-whaters, and they were a threat to the rest of us, and they should be silenced, right? It's the pit and the pedestal. There's always one side that these are, they're on the pedestal, right? They're the really good guys, right? They're the you-know-what authorities. Doctor wants to give you an ouchie, right? And then there's the pit, the anti-you-know-whaters who are just pure scum, right? Or that really bad one supervillain across the world that we've been painting, and he's just a supervillain, and he is the modern embodiment of that guy during World War II with the mean stash, right? And he's just the modern version of that, as was Orange Man, right? It's the pit and the pedestal. And there's no critical thinking involved. It's just painting a picture of it's dehumanization of one side, right? And the propping up of the other side. And it's all done as part of psychological warfare. It's all done to break your mind so that the only narrative, right? The only narrative that people know or are willing to even hear is that comes from authority. Yeah, well, don't mind the negative comments, because the truth is that most people are very low consciousness, very vibration. They're not critical thinkers. So when I see people make negative comments at me, I laugh at them because it's like a child hissing at you, you know, throwing a little tantrum. But yeah, so I actually didn't plan on talking about Russia on this one, but I guess I was streaming at a new time and I was just feeling a little rambunctious and I started talking about Russia. But really, I try to weed the political people out because I find political people to be annoying. I find them to be very low consciousness, annoying. Let me guess, you are against fluoride. Hey, listen, I think that you should continue to use fluoride in your toothpaste. I mean, you probably listen to authoritative news, so here would be my suggestion to you. I want you, because you love authoritative news, right? You're like, this guy's against fluoride, and I'm so smart. Look at this fool against fluoride. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go on to Google, and I'm going to teach you how to do a proper search, because you probably don't know how to do a proper search. You don't seem very intelligent to me. So what you should do is do quotation, CNN, end quotation, right? Because that tells the search engine that you want CNN. It's the quotations, right? Then you do plus, you do a little plus sign. Then you do quotations, and so you start another quotation, and you do fluoride in utero, end quotation. And what you'll find is an article from your so trusted authoritative news source that says that studies have proven that fluoride consumption by the mother during when the child is in utero, and this is from CNN, lowers IQ. So you keep taking your fluoride with your intelligence and coming at me and saying, this guy is he's against putting no neurotoxins in his body. Look at this guy. He thinks it's a bad idea to put a known neurotoxin in your body. You know, there's only 12 known neurotoxins in the world. You know, let's shoot some mercury in there. Let's take some fluoride. And then I'll go in there and I'll tell him, you know, how dumb this guy is. Get lost. Like, be more intelligent before you come on here and just start spewing your complete and utter nonsense. Really should have told my regulars that I'd be doing this with the new time, because the level of the low consciousness is annoying and my regulars would have just blocked you already. And then you get Pip's Room over here. You got Misintelligence Pip's Room over here. That's why no one listens to you. I mean, I have 175,000 followers on social media. How many do you have, Pip's Room? Nobody listens to you. My kids love your books. Are you working on any more? Actually, I'm writing a book right now which teaches that fluoride consumption is a bad idea, and that's for children. So that's right on schedule. I think I'll use that as a nice segue. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, I published 7 books, Amazon #1 bestseller. I run my own company. I'm my own boss, very successful, started my own homeschool company. I have no debt. I grow my own food. I have a homestead. I just absolutely crush. I'm everything that these trolls just despise, because I reveal what they aren't. They look at me as a black mirror and they see what they aren't in their life, and then they're so sad and so miserable. And so yes, I have written 7 books. Hey, Tiff Gog, you're here. Tiff Gog, do me a favor. 1 second. Do me a favor. I wasn't even following you. Hold on. More. Admin settings. Moderators. Tiff Gog, I just made you a moderator, so if any of these people just get out of line, just hit them with the ban hammer. Just hit them with the ban hammer. Thanks, Brittany. By the way, I'm not this annoying most of the time. When I get trolls sometimes, I like to be really condescending and obnoxious. Are your books in your bio? Yeah, if you click Or you just go to www.classicallearner.com. That's classicallearner.com. You'll see Cubs to Bears books. But I've written 7 books, Amazon #1 bestseller. The first book is Free Speech, Social Media Censorship, and the First Amendment. The second book is The Right to Bear Arms. The third book is The Bear from Jekyll Island, which is about the true history of the Federal Reserve banking system. These are all for children, by the way. It's about the banking system, how it's structured, how it got set up. Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee, which is the congressionally documented history of fake news. Tiff Gog is dropping ban hammers already. The congressionally documented history of fake news, which is, really important for children to understand. So I wrote The Peanut Trap, which is about the dangers of taking free things and how there's, The Peanut Trap is my favorite one. Yes, Fox News, that's a good one. Appreciate your tenacity, thank you. And then, of course, You Are What You Eat, which is about where our food comes from, which is probably what I'm most passionate about. You guys can't see it, but I have a greenhouse that I built right there, which is really cool. I purchased 3 lemon trees yesterday. I had a great day yesterday. We went to a local garden center. And for those of you not familiar with my work, I try to shop at garden centers and mom and pop shops as much as I can. Not that I never go to Walmart. I am hypocritical a little bit. I'm not perfect, but I do try to practice what I preach. So as much as I can, I'll go to garden centers or mom and pop shops instead of Walmart. But I do now and then run in. I'm trying to get better at that. But I like to be completely honest and transparent because I like people to know where I'm coming from. Do you practice permaculture? I'm working on it. So I'm starting a homestead. Hardwood Bear. I saw you commented on Pat Light's video. I had to give you a shout out. Hardwood Bear is an absolute crusher and member of the Homeschools Connected homeschooling community. And we're really crushing. Hardwood Bear, I posted the most recent lesson in our nature unit study today. We're planting seeds this week. Crushing. I'll talk about that in a little bit if you guys want to. But yeah, permaculture is definitely something I'm getting into. I just started a homestead, so I'm learning the ins and outs of that. But, that has to go with, every plant has a planting companion. And, some plants will actually take the nitrogen out of the soil, but then other plants that you could plant with them will put the nitrogen back in the soil. So if you think about that, it creates this circle where one plant takes from the soil, the other plant gives to the soil, and it becomes this self-sustaining system. If you think about, right, people think we've been conditioned to think about gardening, and people will see, they farm these fields, and then after 15 years, the fields are no good anymore. You can't plant on them. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. The reason these fields are being destroyed is because big agriculture, which is Big Pharma's biggest partner. And what they're doing is they're coming along and they're spraying these chemicals. I'm not going to say which chemicals they are, but if you think about square down, I wouldn't quite say square down, but maybe around, So they spray these chemicals onto the land for 15 straight years. And what it does is it kills the microbiome. It kills all those healthy bacterias and fungus that are great for the soil that create the sustainable system. And then after so long of that, it kills all of the life in that soil to the point where you put seeds in the soil and they don't grow anymore. Well, you think about the Amazon rainforest, right? No one has to farm that. Look at the abundance. Look at the life. Look at the herbs and all of the nutritional properties, all of the healing plants that come from the Amazon rainforest. No one's farming that. Well, that is God's system. That is permaculture. Well, you can replicate that system. You could replicate God's system on your farm, right? So when you put that plant in the ground, if you understand what the plant does, this plant takes nutrient from the takes nitrogen from the soil. Well, I could put a plant next to it that puts nitrogen back into the soil. What are the layers of roots? What do I mean by layers? So some plants, their roots are shallow. Some plants, their roots are at a medium level, and some plants, their roots are at a deep level. So if you put plants together, shallow roots, medium roots, and deep roots, those systems aren't competing with one another. What's up, Hardwood and Classical Learner? Good morning to you. Cyborg Bear, I just posted the new Nature Unit study in Homeschools Connected in our private homeschool community. Check that out. We're planting seeds this week. We are crushing. So yeah, you want to plant root systems that don't compete with one another, that actually support one another. And if you do that, it actually creates this cycle where the soil repairs itself, and then your soil becomes this hotbed of healthy bacteria and fungus, and it can grow strong. Yeah, definitely check that out. And will grow strong, right? So that's permaculture. That's what's up. I love it, and I'm definitely getting into that. Just want to see what the people are saying. Yes, Doof World named it. I'm Baron Mom 5. I'm not early anymore. I am changing my streaming time. I'm going to start streaming at 9:30 a.m. every day. I like the morning time. Who is this God you speak of? Check out 1491 and you can learn what Amazon did. They did farm the Amazon. That's interesting. Where am I located? I don't talk about that anymore because I've had some targeting from some crazy people. I've had targeting from some crazy people. It looks like people also took out paid ads to have someone attack me. So yeah, that's. I decided that it's probably not in my best interest to share my address anymore. You know, when you become like big on social media, like you come into everything and you have like this very positive outlook on humanity because I'm a very positive person. But what you find is, and don't get me wrong, like I've come across like Hardwood Bear, like Bear Mini Mom, like I've come across like Tifgog, I've come across phenomenal people. Marine Princess, my top general, who's again not here today, although she probably doesn't know that wow, the big leagues. Which you know, probably doesn't know that I'm streaming, but I'll still badmouth her in this moment because I expect my top general would be here. But yeah, I mean, you come across great people, but you also come across a lot of crazy people and even like influential people who try to hurt you. And then also just the negativity, the overall, the amount of negative comments. And like, whatever, I don't care, it's fine, I laugh at these people. I mean, they hurt a little bit, they hurt. But the amount of negative comments that I get from these people who write the most grotesque things that would never say them to my face because these are like keyboard cowards. So that's why people will see me sometimes and I'm like, why are you being defensive, bro? Why are you being defensive, bro? And I'm like, because I got people coming at me from 100 different angles. Like, my instincts are like, some people say things to me that like, I mean, I'm a grown man and like, you shouldn't do this stuff. And like, you know, you gotta be careful with prison and stuff. But like, there were things that people say to me that when I was a younger man, I just, you know, I'd crack them right in the chin, you know, like, and these people, these little internet tough guys, like, you know, not that I advocate for that and all, but you guys get it. Like, these people, you know, you guys get it. So, but that just comes with the territory. And like, I've grown a pretty big, you know, relatively speaking, like I'm a small fish, but you know, a big following. And, you know, nothing really prepares you for all that. Like, you got to learn about it on the fly. So sometimes I'll come in a little defensive, you know, understand that's why that is. There are countless bots and paid wage slaves who want to disrupt constructive discourse. Exactly. Hello there. Your website is not ranking. Trying to sell to me, huh? Well, I mean, if you could make my website rank, I would definitely hire you, but anyway. So anyway, What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I was talking about my book. So, yeah, I have written 7 books, and the really cool thing is that I've mentioned my homeschool community a few times here. I actually teach a course called Foundations of Propaganda for elementary school and middle school level learners using the books that I wrote. So, like for example, the book Free Speech, Social Media, and the First Amendment, in that class, children are learning how truth speakers are labeled derogatory terms. And those derogatory terms, those labels, are used to silence people and remove them from the public discourse, right? So, as an example, early in that book, Charisma Cat has her Saving Puppy Center. And of course, she's not saving puppies, she's feeding them to hungry coyotes. So, Stand-Up Bear comes along and he says, yeah, he's a stand-up comedian, and he says, bunnies, puppies, things that moo, coyotes turn them into stew. How could animals be such dupes? Coyotes just want piglet soups. So he's using comedy to call out the Saving Puppy Center. Well, he's labeled a thought criminal, and he's not allowed to do stand-up comedy anymore. So then he takes his message to the Blue Mountain Birds, and that's those are the logo of Twitter. So he puts his message on a scroll, rolls it up, gives it to the Blue Mountain Birds, and carry my message as far as you reach. Carry my message with tweets, tweets, tweets. And then the news roosters, who are the news, reports that he's anti-bird, right? They say he's anti-bird, no longer can he speak such dangerous words, and he's not allowed to send his tweets anymore. So people are labeled, oh, they're spreading misinformation. They're an anti-you-know-whatter. Or, you know, this person is this type of ism. He's an ism. Or he's an obic. You know, we can't let them be in the public sphere of information because, you know, they're dangerous people, dangerous misinformation. So children are learning in this course that I'm teaching how derogatory terms are used to silence people that actually speak the truth. I've never been a fan of the mushrooms, so I'm trying to get over that mental part. Yeah, I've actually in the last couple of years, I'm not talking about the hallucinogenic ones, just like in mushrooms that you cook with. I've actually grown pretty fond of some mushrooms, and I never liked them, but I had to get over their texture, because I guess growing up, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I don't like this texture, but my wife really liked mushrooms. Again, not the kind that gets you, I'm not talking about Joe Rogan's kind, right? And yeah, but I actually enjoy them on hamburgers, and they can be pretty good, so yeah. But anyway, so I'm teaching that course on propaganda. And then the other thing that we're doing, which is really cool, I mentioned it a few times here, it's a kit to learn about fungi. Oh, did you post that in Homeschools Connected, Bear Mini Mom? If you have a kit, I think you might have posted that. If you haven't, post it on the primary chat, and because a lot of people will find that to be valuable. Okay, you did. I thought you did. I need to go. Can you post it again? I need to go back and find it, and I need to post it in a permanent location on Homeschools Connected. So yeah, I brought it up a few times. That one of the things our students are learning this year is they are studying gardening, right? So one of the things our students did is we had them track their property, like do a map of their property. So draw out houses. They picked out they looked up their planting zone, decided what seeds they want to plant. And now this week, our students are actually planting seeds indoors. So they're going to be planting their seedlings, and then over the next month, so in about a month, they're going to transfer those plants outside into a garden bed that they created. And I'm actually going to have them create not only their own garden beds, but I'm going to give them options to create raised garden beds where they actually do construction, which is something I'm very excited about. It's a project where they learn the basics of carpentry, and they also really, it builds their self-esteem. Like, wow, look, I built this with my hands. I'm planting seeds in this raised garden bed. I'm growing this food that I'm producing in the world. And then at the end of the summer, we're actually going to use that food to get our students entrepreneurial experience. Because in our homeschool community, we have something called the Rule of Six, which is every 6 months, our students should be doing something entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial adjacent. And that could be something as simple as a lemonade stand, right? You have a 5-year-old. The lemonade stand is great. I've more complex things. I've worked with a 5-year-old that's built a bench for his local church. I've worked with an 8-year-old which started a business, so to speak, changing oil, and his neighbors actually hired him to change their oil, right? So there's so many cool things that you can do with your children, but every 6 months you want them getting entrepreneurial experience. And then if you do that, you think about the mindset development and what they'll be doing by the time they're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. This is that unschooling component. Now, I'll get a lot of these troll types or these binary thinkers who are like, if you unschool them, they won't know how to do math or anything else. Like, you do realize you could implement some aspects of unschooling. Like, you could follow their interest, use their interest to get them skills, to develop skills, and then use their skills to get them entrepreneurial experience. And then you could also have them learn mathematics in a more formal way. Like, you could also have them study science in a more formal way. Like, it's not binary. Like, you don't have to choose one or the other. You should be doing both. He's doing a lot better. He seems to have cleared the jaundice. You got a newborn? Hardwood Bear, you got a newborn? When my son was in the hospital, he had jaundice. So, Hardwood Bear, congratulations. Everyone, Hardwood Bear just had a new cub. And that's how you win the future, by the way. You know, people talk about, like, people complain, oh my God, we're being replaced by people from other countries. They're the open borders. It's like, do you have children? No. Well, yeah, you're going to be replaced. Like, if you don't want to be replaced, have lots of children. It's one of the most patriotic things you can do. I have 2 children right now, so Hardwood Bear is more patriotic than me because he has 3 children. And, you know, he's a crusher, so I know he's already thinking about number 4, because we need as many little Hardwood Bears in this world as we can get, because I need those little Hardwood Bears to grow up and be allies to little Classical Learner Bears. And right now I have 2. Yeah, see, Bear Mini Mom, she makes Hardwood Bear look like a treasonous traitor because he only has 4 children and Bear Mini Mom has 5. And, you know, rumor has it, she might even have a 6 in the future, a 6th baby in the future. You know, so I mean, she's just lapping Hardwood Bear, and really he hasn't contributed anything to the world yet because he only has 4 and Bear Mini Mom has 5. So I expect you to quickly get on that, right? Because my children need allies in this world. And people want to talk about freedom, but they don't want to earn it, right? They don't want to sell their house to get out of debt, right? And like downsize. I have no kids, so I haven't. Right. So you, Raquel, we need you to have 1 child, because if you have one little Raquel, think what that will do to the future. That's a beautiful soul, a beautiful person who could love and understand freedom and could spread that freedom to our children. So understand that I'm not rocking you, Raquel. I'm not knocking you. What I'm doing is I'm encouraging you to have children, because if you do that, there'll be more freedom-oriented people in the future, right? Be fruitful and multiply, replicate yourself, right? So right now in this chat, we have 4 little Hardwood Bears and 5 little Bear Mini Moms, right? And 2 little Classical Learners. And God willing, I'll be having more little Classical Learners. So when you think about that, that's 5 plus 4 plus 2, that's between the 3 of us. There are 11 freedom-loving children, right? So this is how you win the future. But people, they complain about, oh, our culture's being replaced, our demographics are being replaced. Well, what are you doing about it? If you want to be free, right? If you want to be free, do your best to get out of debt. I understand that's not an option for everyone right now, but you work toward it. But like for me, example, I sold my house to get out of debt. I moved my family across the country to live out of debt because I would not be controlled through financial leverage. And again, don't be like, oh, screw you. Like, I'm not doing this to brag. I'm showing people how to live free. Sold my house in my state where I lived my whole life, where my entire family lived, where all my friends were, where all my roots were, right? That's not easy. I sold my house, moved my family across the country to somewhere where cost of living is less. And I was able to get out of debt. So then, now I'm out of debt. I'm not as easy to control through financial leverage. So you can't say, hey, Brett, you better go get this procedure that you don't want to get. Otherwise, you'll lose your job and you won't be able to pay your mortgage or feed your children. This is the world we live in, by the way. I'm sorry that that's the world, but it is the world, right? So sold my house, moved my family across the country, purchased a homestead, right? So we could grow our own food. I purchased 3 lemon trees yesterday, and those lemon trees will give me lemons for the next 20 years if I do a good job taking care of them, right? So think about that. I spent $34 on 3 lemon trees, and those lemon trees will give me 20 years worth of lemons. 20 years for $34. 20 years. So I started a homestead growing my own food so I can't be controlled by the grocery stores. When I was working a full-time job and I was working hard and I was quote unquote successful. I was working that full-time job, making 6 figures, had that white picket fence house with the big mortgage on Long Island, right? When I was working that full-time job, rather than come home and put my feet up and watch TV, I spent my nights, and my wife, God bless her for supporting me through this, building the Classical Learner Company. So you think about that, like working that 8 hours during the day and then working another 6 or 7 hours at night building the Classical Learner Company. And now I own my own business, and now I'm my own boss, and I work from where I want to work and when I want to work. And don't get me wrong, I work more hours than if I was an employee, because when you own a business, you got to do a lot, believe me. Not only that, but you can use the trees to grow, right, and you could use those trees to grow more trees, right? Because the lemons make seeds, then you take the seeds and you grow more trees. Bada 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 boom. The world is full of abundance, right? So I took that time and I built my business, and now I'm actually working on hiring my friends, right? I'm actually starting to build something where I could begin to find ways to get my friends some income, which is like my big goal is to ultimately really be able to, as I expand, to hire a lot of good people, right? So then those people can't be controlled by the system. They can't be controlled. So, oh, you have to get this procedure, otherwise you can't pay your mortgage. Like, no, then I'll hire my friend, right? And I'm getting there. Homeschool you, get married, right? So I'm married. I don't embrace hookup culture. I think hookup culture is disgusting. In fact, I speak out against it. I don't think you're doing a young girl any favors by telling her that it's in her best interest to, oh yeah, don't have a family. Like, put off having a family until you're 30 years old. Like, you know what's really not fulfilling in life? Those children that you'll literally love more than anything in the world, right? Like, you're not doing her any favors. You know what's really oppressive? A husband. And you know what's liberating? A corporate boss who's probably also a man who doesn't care anything about you. But like your husband, who like not like they project on television, who's literally probably willing to break his back and die just to put a smile on your face and to make sure they're okay. Yeah. You know, that's oppression, right? Right. You know, like I'm the oppressor of my wife, who will literally do anything for my wife. And by the way, put her through medical school, by the way. Something I'm very proud of, and I'm very proud of her because she absolutely crushed. And she's brilliant. Right? So it's like they invert everything. Like, no, oppression is being in debt and feeling like you're trapped in a corporate job. It's the opposite of what they say it is. Right? Oppression is not having family to fall back on. So rejecting hookup culture and embracing family, embracing tradition, getting married, being a good husband, being a good wife, being a good father, being a good mother, homeschooling your children, and raising them so that they're not indoctrinated and that they have critical thinking faculties so that they can spread freedom throughout the world, right? That's how you win freedom. And my business itself is I started a homeschooling company, and I work with parents not only to show them how to live free and to do this stuff, but to teach them, to educate them on how to teach their children to live free and independent lives. We teach our students critical thinking. I'll answer that in a minute, how to teach them critical thinking. We teach our students skills, and we get our students entrepreneurial experience. And when you combine those three things, I'm going to answer the critical thinking question. I'm going to go back through everything you said. I just wanted to get through this. When you do those three things, you position your children to have the skills and the experience to do anything they want in this world so they can grow up and live a free and independent life. Because when they're 18 years old, they shouldn't be dependent on the government. They shouldn't be dependent on a corporation. They shouldn't even be dependent on their parents. And we can educate them so that they're not dependent on even you. And that is what we're doing. That's how you win freedom. That's how you build a free society. And these are the things that we are doing. I don't just talk this stuff. I have lived this life. Okay? I sold my house to get out of debt, moved my family across the country, married my wife. I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. I spent my time building my company while I was working a full-time job, was able to quit my full-time job because my company was successful enough. I'm running my company. I've actually started hiring my friends, so I'm getting there where I want to be. I homeschool my children. I educate people on how to homeschool their children. I grow my own food. So I don't just talk about this stuff, I really live it. And again, I'm not saying this stuff like, oh, look how he's bragging. I'm trying to show people as an example that this is what you can do in your life. I am not overly intelligent. Sometimes people look at me and they're like, oh, wow, you're like a really smart guy. No, I'm not. I'm probably an average intelligence. I'm not Einstein over here. Oh, there's a spell behind that. I have good discernment. I have good morals, and I've attempted to live these principles. And if you do that, you can do these things too. So now let me go back. I'm going to read through some of your comments and including that critical thinking one. But I just wanted to get through that rant. I am dumber having listened to you. Someone who, let's say, if me and that guy compared what we've done in our life, whose life do you think is more impressive? Woo! Ah! Joe Salatin, I heard he's great. Had his kids run their own businesses with chickens and rabbits. That's one of the things I love. And a solid foundation composed of the trivium and quadrivium, which leads to endless possibilities. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's classical education. The trivium and quadrivium, it breaks education up into three phases of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And you could learn more about that with a book called The Lost Tools of Learning. It's about 35 pages long, and it's about 35 pages long. You can read it in one night. And by the way, if you want your children to be critical thinkers, read The Lost Tools of Learning. So there's the first part of that answer. Jesus cares about you. Absolutely. Jesus loves every one of you. All right, how do you teach critical thinking? So, when you want to raise a critical thinker, there's the obvious at first in that you have to demonstrate having an open mind and teach them to question things. But let's talk about how schools study history. When a school studies history, they will have them memorize this event happened. And if you repeat that, they'll say you know history. Do you? Do you know if what you just repeated is true? Right? Do you know if what you just repeated is true? You don't. Well, the better way to have them study history is you have them read primary documents first-hand accounts of people on both sides of events. So if they're reading about the American Revolution, they should read both Thomas Paine's Common Sense and the primary writings of King George. Right? How many have you ever heard someone say that? When they're studying the Civil War, they should read the primary correspondence of Abraham Lincoln and the primary correspondence of Stonewall Jackson, or after he died, it's not quite primary, but Stonewall Jackson's wife's recollection of his wife and what he was fighting for. Right? So you're getting both sides of the argument, right? And you're teaching children not to memorize, but to use their discernment and their critical thinking based on those primary writings to say, okay, this is what this side, this was their position, and this is what they stood for. This was the other side's position, and this is what they stood for. And now, which side is right, which side is wrong, and you can make up your own mind. Critical thinking. When children study science, yeah, I mean, you could have them memorize this theory or that theory, but what they really should be doing is the scientific method, and they should have a hands-on relationship with the scientific method. They should be doing their own observations. They should be formulating their own hypothesis, setting up controls, and they should be testing out, doing the scientific method and thinking about it, and they should be developing a relationship with it. There's companies like KiwiCo, the KiwiCo company, which help you do stuff like that, and they deliver science boxes to your door monthly, right? Critical thinking. When children do writing, they shouldn't just do a writing assignment and hand in their work. You should sit down with them after they do their writing, and they should actually be editing their own work. So you should point out, hey, this was a nice topic sentence. Hey, this sentence was a run-on sentence. You know, you could have broke it up with a comma, you could have broke it up with a period, and you're teaching them to edit their own work, to think critically about their writing. So if you teach like this, that's when you start to learn critical thinking. Whew. And then, of course, there's classical education, which breaks learning down into the three phases of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So when you combine all of these things, you start to raise critical thinkers. You know, one of the assignments I really love, I love having children do original research. So what you do is you have them go to the grocery store, pick an ingredient on the back of the box, and then when they get home, DuckDuckGo search MSG, the ingredient, plus MSG, the ingredient, plus side effects. And then they could actually do research on the side effects of these things, and they could learn, you know, about healthy living. But they're teaching themselves to use their discernment and think critically and do research. So these are some of the ways in which we teach critical thinking. Yeah, so get the you-know-what and be a patriot. It saves lives. No, you know, being a patriot isn't to voluntarily surrender your rights because you're mentally weak and you give in to propaganda and social shame. Being a patriot is standing for what you know to be right. It's standing for the Constitution and human liberty. It's saying that even though, so that person believes in that type of procedure, right? So being a patriot would be, I value liberty and freedom over security. So even though, you know, that person, if they were a patriot, they'd say, even though I think maybe you should get the procedure, which I don't think you should, but I'm not giving you advice, but even though they think you should get that procedure, they're going to stand up for the rights of people who don't want to, because they know that liberty and freedom are more valuable than security. That's what being a patriot is. It's standing up for basic human liberties, individual rights and freedoms that people literally went to war and died so you could have freedom of religion, the right to protest, the right to have sovereignty over your own body. They literally, like my father went to Vietnam. My grandfather went to World War II. People went to war and died for these rights so you could have them, and then you're going to voluntarily give them up because you're a coward, because you're afraid that you might catch a cold. No, you're not a patriot, bro. You're not a patriot. The founding fathers turned in their grave when they see you. They question what they did when they see you. They fought. They gave up what they gave up for you. Shameful, disgraceful. My father fought in Vietnam so you can give away his grandchild's basic constitutional liberty because you were afraid? You're not a patriot, bro. You're a coward. And I know you give in to social shame. You give in to social shame because of the position you hold. You think you're being virtuous? You're not virtuous. You're pathetic. Don't tell me about being a patriot. If you exchange security for freedom, you deserve neither, and you will lose both. And anyone who doesn't understand that has no comprehension of history, no comprehension of basic human liberty. And quite frankly, they don't deserve liberty. They really don't. Go live your life the way you want. Enjoy it. You don't deserve liberty. You won't have it. I mean, Elton Morgan. I mean, I don't want to say no one, but no. I mean, you're on the channel of someone who is a very devout Christian. But let me just give you a piece of advice. Going on someone's chat and just writing over and over again, Jesus is truth, Jesus is truth, the Holy Bible is truth, Jesus is truth, Jesus is coming. You're not doing yourself any favor. You're not converting anyone that way. You're not making anyone go toward Jesus that way. You're coming off as an unhinged person. You say it one time, we understand that's your position. It's also my position, but that's not what Jesus would tell you to do. Did Jesus walk around I am truth, I am truth, I am truth, no. No. He talked in parables, he talked in stories, he met people with compassion. You're not doing yourself a favor by writing Jesus is truth, Jesus is truth, Jesus is truth over and over again. Stop spamming my chat. I was homeschooled from 2nd grade with the Abeka program. I like Abeka. I like the Abeka program. Yeah, I mean, my approach is I do a combination of all. So we kind of mix in unschooling, classical education, Charlotte Mason, and Montessori. I think they're all very powerful. In terms of what we're doing this year in our homeschool community, I don't have a full curriculum yet. This is my first year. So what we're doing is, for one, I teach a live class every Thursday, Foundations of Propaganda, using the Cubs to Bears children book series, which I wrote. Our students are currently studying the media industrial complex. They're learning how to track the money. They're learning that 5 parent corporations control 90% of media. We are studying the medical industrial complex. We're learning how to track the money, that the big pharmaceutical industry spends more money lobbying politicians than any other. The revolving door of bureaucrats who get cushy government jobs, and then they leave the government and they get well-paying jobs for the pharmaceutical industry, and then back and forth. And then we're studying the military-industrial complex and how certain industries benefit from war. We are doing a year-long nature unit study in which children are actually planting their own seeds. And then at the end of this year, so they're going to learn photography, videography, construction, and at the end of this year, they'll be getting entrepreneurial experience. And then on top of what we're building, we have a great homeschool community of mothers and fathers. We have a pen pal program in which the parents team up with each other and their children are actually pen pals. And the best part about it is everything that I described, everything you get, is $10 a month, and I don't charge you up front. So literally, if you sign up and don't like it, you're out $10. But what we're finding is that people are loving it, and we're having a lot of success with what we're doing, and it's been a really cool thing. So that's what we're doing in terms of Classical Learner. Oh, you got to use the promo code TOGETHER, and it's $10 a month. Laugh out loud. Laugh out loud. This guy here is talking about critical thinking, and he's talking about Jesus. On the other hand, don't come into my chat and laugh out loud about Jesus. You know, I don't think you would have the courage to go into a Muslim's chat, right? Like, would you go into a Muslim chat room and say, laugh out loud, he's talking about Muhammad? I don't think you would. I don't think you'd have the courage to do that. So if you don't have the courage to do that to them, don't come in here and insult my Savior. All right? That same thing. Like, don't spam with Jesus, but don't come in here and laugh out loud at Jesus either. Like, you can take that and get lost. Be respectful. I don't say you have to follow Jesus, but you will be respectful of my Savior. Thank you for circling back. And Elton Morgan, I told you to stop spamming now, so if you keep doing this Jesus, Jesus, Jesus stuff, I'm going to block you. Stop spamming my chat. Where did you go to college? I went to... Did you design the nature study? Yes, I made the nature unit study completely myself. And so far, we've mapped out our properties. We've tracked the sun in the sky. We've found the best garden location using the map that we made. We've done composting. We've built greenhouses. And we are planting our own seeds. So far it's been a lot of fun and something I'm continuing to do. And like I said, children are learning art, photography, videography, construction, all within the unit study. I went to Cortland University, got a bachelor's degree in history education, and I got a master's degree in birth to two special education from Queens College. I graduated with a 4.0 GPA and was given the award for the #1 student in the program. And then after I graduated, I realized I didn't know much about the world. I started to look into alternative methods of education and found that the public school system was absolutely dreadful, and that led me to a path where I started a homeschool company. Let me know if I'm modding correctly. I've never done this before. Tifgog, you are crushing. Are you calling that word procedure? I mean, if you don't know that there's certain words you can't say on the internet and things you can't talk about, you're the blindest person on earth. So I'm assuming you know the answer to your question. And since you know the answer to your question, I'm assuming your question was passive-aggressive. And since you're passive-aggressive and you have a name which is that of a male, I'm going to assume you're feminine. Yeah, Papa.
Oh, it's untangled.
Nice. It's crazy how people have different definitions of what it means to be a patriot. No, it's not. The only definition of a patriot is securing the basic human rights and liberties for your grandchildren. Yeah, like people, if someone's saying that they've given away basic human liberty because they're a patriot, no, they're trying to steal virtue. They're scared little children. I've given away all of the basic human liberty that generations of Americans have fought and died for. So my grandchildren and other people's children won't be able to have those basic human rights. But you know, I'm a patriot. I'm a patriot, bro. Stop yelling. You've already ran off your real life friends. Actually, I have a ton of real life friends who will literally give me the shirt off their back if I ask them for it. In fact, I needed advice on supplements to take, and I just picked up the phone and called one of the most impressive, well-versed people you'll ever meet in this world for free, and he completely counseled me on everything I need to do. And I have that in spades, where I could pick up the phone and call extremely knowledgeable niche people in all different areas. In fact, I even have the phone numbers of Congress people and the members of the heads of political parties and all types of things because of what I've done in my life. But I'm guessing that you really have your life together. I'm guessing you're so cool. Understand this. When you speak truth, you don't lose friends. You drive losers out of your life. You drive people out of your life who will virtue signal and give away your rights and your children's rights. And they'll be like, oh, I'm a patriot. Like, you don't want that person in your life. And when you speak truth, you attract people like Bear Mini Mom, like Tiff Gog, like Hardwood Bear, who are absolutely the type of people you want in your life. I've never met Hardwood Bear in person, and I promise you, if it really hit the fan, and I called him up right now, and I was like, Hardwood Bear, I really need you to do this favor for me and go way out of your way. I know his character. I know what type of person he is, and I know he would do it for me. I have my best friend in the state that I live now, and I only moved here in July, and I have a ton of really good friends here already. My best friend, I know he would go well out of his way and do what is right and do what is moral to stand up for me. And you know how I know that? Not only do we go to church together, and I know it's very important to him, and I see how he raises his daughter, that morality is very important to him, but he was told that he was going to lose his job if he didn't do you know what. And he applied for his exemption, and he held his ground, and he said, on this date, I'll find out about the exemption, and if I don't get it, then I'm going to lose my job. And me and my family, I'm just going to figure it out. I'll get a job working hard doing something else. I'll get 2 jobs if I have to, but I'm going to stand by my principles. And in that moment, I knew more about that man than most people know about their so-called friends that they've known for many years. Because I saw into his character, I saw into his soul. And I know if I need him, that he'll step up for me. Okay? So never think you're losing friends by speaking truth. These people, these trolls, they are controlled by social shame. They are controlled by social status. And the reason for that is because when they look in the mirror, they don't love what they see on the inside. So they need outward praise, right? They need that social praise, right? They need that social status because that's where they get their worth from, because they don't love what they see when they look in the mirror. Do you see? By the way, you think you're trolling me. I'm peering into your soul right now. Do you understand that? Do you understand where you are? Because I actually have an internal connection with God, which is why I don't care about social status. I don't care about social shame, because I get my self-worth from my Creator. Because I look internally, because every night before bed, I speak with God. And yes, God speaks back to me, and that doesn't mean I hear a voice, but you have to operate on a higher frequency to know what that means. And every night before bed, I speak with God, and I talk about my actions of that day. And I say, did I do what I did for the right reasons? Were they driven by ego? Or were they driven by what I know to be right in my soul? Why did I do that? How do I live my life? Am I doing the right thing by my family? And I have an internal relationship with God. And that's where people don't say, oh, ask for God's forgiveness. God will forgive you, but only when you forgive yourself on a soul level. Because when you forgive yourself on a soul level, that means you truly meant it. And only when you truly mean it down to your soul level will God forgive you for inaction. Because then your soul has ascended to a higher level. God is here to teach you. Earth is here. This is a training ground here to teach you. So when you forgive yourself on a soul level, you have risen the frequency of your soul. And when you raise the frequency of your soul, then you can achieve God's forgiveness, because you are capable of ascending to a higher frequency. And when you ascend to a high enough frequency, a frequency of the kingdom of heaven, then God will accept you into the kingdom of heaven. So understand, when you come here with your social shame, you are not operating on the same frequency of me. You are operating on a low frequency. And that is why you're so controlled by social shame. And I don't do this to come down on you. I'm telling you to look into your internal world. Tonight, when you're mad at me, when you're butthurt, talk to God. Try it. And if you don't think you're talking to God, then talk to yourself. And talk about your actions, why you act the way you do, why you're so controlled by social status and shame. Because if you're going to come here and come at me, you have to come a little bit harder than that. Just a little bit harder than that. So if people disagree with you, they deserve oppression? No, if people surrender their basic human liberty, then by definition, they don't deserve basic human liberty. It's not agreeing or disagreeing with me. They are voluntarily surrendering their basic human liberty. So why would they deserve basic human liberty? Do you understand that? When they voluntarily surrender their liberty, then the controllers, the people who are trying to take it, come in and say, okay, we'll take it. And then they'll complain, my freedom's gone. Yeah, you gave it away. You don't deserve it. Again, you didn't understand what I said at the first time because I'm operating on a higher frequency than you. George Carlin said it years ago. It's one big club and you ain't in it. A piece of advice: include personal finance as part of the curriculum. Well, actually, one of the things I provide to my community is I have laid out a step-by-step process from the time children are in pre-K all the way through high school to teach your children financial literacy. So that is one of the things you get. When you join my community, you gain access to a process that I laid out, every material you should use, when you should implement it, step by step from pre-K all through high school as to how to teach your children financial literacy.
Dad, the kite got stuck on the house.
Oh no!
Do you want to get it?
Yes, Brady, give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna come. Give me a couple minutes. I'm gonna come help you get the kite off the house. Right, people look for an argument. They have nothing better to do. Like, if you don't like what I'm saying, why would you be here? Like, this chat's not for you then. Stop with that. You don't have a choice of freedom. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Now, it might take extreme personal responsibility. You might have to earn it, right? Like, we all decide how free we are. Like, I don't have debt. I sold my house, moved across the country, so I have financial freedom. I'm not like money wealthy, but I don't have debt, and I run my own business, so I make my own schedule. So like, I have that type of freedom. I grow my own food, so I'm not controlled by the grocery stores, or at least I'm getting there. Right? So I have that type of freedom. I homeschool my children, so my family has a lot of flexibility on what we do. We could travel when we want. We could go on field trips. I have that freedom. They say, oh, but what about them taking your rights? Well, I'm not capable of defending myself legally yet. I'll get there. But like, I know people who defend their rights. And, people who accomplish things legally that, other people would say, that's not possible. Okay, I know it's possible because they're friends of mine. Like I said, I collect much better friends than the trolls. Yeah, friends of mine who actually, like all that sovereign stuff people talk about, I have friends that really do it. And oh, by the way, when I want advice, they literally counsel me on how to do that stuff. I haven't taken the steps because I understand that if you slip up, you can get in a lot of trouble. But in terms of freedom, yes, we are. we choose how free we want to be. And most people choose convenience. Most people choose keeping up with the Joneses. And because of that, they don't live as free with their lives. Yeah, that's fine. How do you organize your day-to-day curriculum? Yeah, sitting down on a Sunday and planning out your week, that works. Another thing you can do if you don't want to plan it out is you could get a formal curriculum that maps everything out for you. But I don't know. I really just like to be. I like to be looser in mine. Like I'm with you. I like to kind of map out what I'm going to do for the week of, and just kind of follow it as a loose guideline. Because I'm also I like unschooling. So if my son gets interested in something, I'll completely deviate from the plan and go in another direction. Right, mind precedes all. Right. Came to say how much I love your content. Kat, I'll be streaming every day at 9:30 now. And thank you. Yeah, I'm almost done, okay? Oh, the string ripped? All right, I'm gonna see what I can do. The string ripping's not good. All right. My son is going to first grade this year, homeschooler, Tiff God crushing. B-Moon in the house. B-Moon, I'll be 9:30 every day now. I now have a thriving life, and many of those people find themselves in the same cycle. Right, it's all just mindset. So much of life is mindset. And it doesn't happen overnight. Just take baby steps. Those who choose safety over freedom deserve neither. Their Discord is awesome. Thank you. B-Moon's a member of my community, so she's giving you some social proof, telling you that Homeschools Connected, our Discord, is a really awesome thing. Thank you for that. And yes, we absolutely have a great community of like-minded people. Better get a ladder. I mean, that looks pretty high up there. I'm gonna try to get this kite down with him, but this is I don't know how it's gonna go, quite frankly. Well, if Brett ever edits my herbal scavenger hunt, yeah, oh yeah, yes. My wife has created a game which teaches children about herbs and different types of plant identification. I just have to edit it. Sorry, I've been taking on a lot. I will edit it this week. And if I don't edit it this week, the community can come down hard on me. Mrs. Classical Learner is getting at me right now. The freedom with homeschool and self-employment is unreal. I love it. Hello, Mrs. White, another member of our homeschool community. Mrs. White, I'll be streaming every day now at 9:30 instead of 12. Do you feel like algebra is important? Here's my thing about advanced mathematics. So if your child is doing math and continues to like it and be good at it, then more and more advanced mathematics is important, right? If they're kind of moderate, they're average at math and they don't love it, but they do it, you still teach them the mathematics and whatnot that every other child learns, right? If after second grade, your child, after basic addition, your child has hated math, they're in ninth grade now, they don't have to learn trigonometry, right? Know your child. Some children, yes, learning advanced algebra or trigonometry is appropriate. And other children, that's just not their mind, their mental makeup. That's not their mindset. And like, it might not be the right route for them. It's like the same thing as like, for some children, art and music might not be the right route for them. And so you have to know your child. And there's no one right way to educate a person, and everyone's different. Yeah, I see the kite up there, Brady. I might have to go to Tom and see if I can get that huge stick he has, that huge pole. Yeah, I'll try. So I don't know, that's my thought on that. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. My boy wants to hang out. I've been going at this for a while. So we will be every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am changing. I used to do it at Marine Princess. Nice of you to join us. Uh-huh. I was talking some smack about you. I was like my top general just abandoned me. Marine Princess, I'll be going every day at 9:30 from now on. So we're changing our time. I know. I was bashing on you, and then after I finished ripping on you, I was like, oh yeah, and I never told her about the time change.
Dad, come on.
What's up, mister?
You said you were going to wrap
Yes,
it
I'm
up.
coming. I'm coming to get the kite. So anyway, we will be going at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time moving forward. And Marine Princess is the best, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know. Absolute legend. Mathematics is a formalized system that is based in logic. The clarity and lack of ambiguity only makes it more powerful. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love mathematics. It's just for some children doing advanced mathematics by 11th grade, it's like they stopped in second grade. Like, it's enough. Dan the man. All right. www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools, connected, promo code together, or Marine. And that's $10 and up. That's Marine. So it's promo code together or Marine. $10 a month. And yeah. So freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day. And I'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Earn it. All right, guys. God bless.